Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be learning about dev elements and when we should be using them. So without further ado, let's get started. What are dev elements and when should you use them? The dev element is used as a container to group other elements. Here's an example of a dev element. Add another paragraph element inside of the dev element and see the changes in the preview window. To see the previews, you'll need to enable the interactive editor. So you'll mainly use the dev element when you want to group HTML elements that will share a set of CSS styling. You will learn more about CSS in future lessons and workshops. Even though the dev elements is commonly used in real-world code bases, you should be careful not to overuse it. There are times when another element would be more appropriate. For example, if you wanted to divide up your content into sections, then the section element would be more appropriate than a div. Add another section element below the first one. Then inside of the section element, add an H2 and P element. You can use whatever text you like, and you will see the changes in the preview window. To interact with the example, you'll need to enable the interactive editor. So, okay. Got a section here. A mammal section. Okay. The section element has a semantic meaning over the div element, which is not semantic. Semantics are the meaning of words or phrases in a language. In HTML, which is a language, elements have their own semantic meaning too. So this means if you use a section element, the browser will pick up its semantic meaning and understand to treat it as a section on desktops, mobile, you name it. Questions. What semantic meaning does a div element have? 1. The div element represents a container for introductory content or a set of navigational links. 2. The div element defines a footer for a document or section. 3. The div specifies the main page content and should be unique. 4. The div element has no semantic meaning. Okay. When is most appropriate to use the div element in your HTML? When dividing content into separate sections of the page? No. When grouping related content for a styling purpose? When marking up the main heading of the page? When embedding media such as images or videos? I think it's going to be this one. Which of the following HTML elements is commonly used to group content into distinct sections? The section element. So let's check our answers. Let's go. The ID attribute adds a unique identifier to an HTML element. Here is an example of an H1 element with an ID of title. Below the H1 element, add an H2 element with an ID set to subtitle. You can write whatever text you like for the H2 and you will see the changes in the preview window. To interact with the example, you will need to enable the interactive editor. Okay, so what they want us to do is H2 ID equal subtitle. You can reference the ID name of title with your JavaScript or CSS. Here's a CSS example referencing the ID of title to change the text color to red. Note, some CSS has been provided for you in this interactive example. Don't worry about trying to understand the CSS code because you will learn more about that in future lessons. But if you want to see the text color change to blue, enable the interactive editor. Click on the styles.css tab and change the color red to color blue. So, okay. We got a document here. Alright, so want to see this title change. Title red to blue. Change to black. White. Green. But the point of the matter is, it is using the ID, it's calling the ID title and just changing that. The title of the H1. Okay. The hash symbol in front of the title tells the computer, tells the computer that you want to target an ID with that value. ID names should not be used more than once, and they should always be unique. Another thing to note about ID values is that they cannot have spaces in them. Here's an example of applying the word main and heading to an ID attribute value. H1 ID equals main space heading, main heading. Browsers will see this space as part of the ID, which will lead to unwanted issues when it comes to styling and scripting. ID attributes values should only contain letters, digits, underscores, and dashes. In contrast to the ID attribute, the class attribute value does not need to be unique and can contain spaces. Here's an example of applying a class called box to a div element. Div class equals box. If you wanted to add multiple classes names to an element, you can do so by separating the names by space. Here is an updated example applying the multiple classes to a div element. So div class equals box space bread dash box. Here's another example of applying multiple classes to multiple div elements. Some CSS has been provided for you in this interactive example. Don't worry about trying to understand the CSS code, because you will learn more about that in the future lessons. But if you wanted to change the color of the first and third box, enable the interactive editor and click on styles.css tab and change the background color red to background color black. So we have index.html. We have the title, we have the link, it's linked to styles.css. We have the body, we have the classes that they're using. Box, red box, blue box, box, red box, box, blue box. Okay. So to recap, when should you use an ID versus class? Classes are best used when you want to apply a set of styles to many elements. If you want to target a specific element, it is best to use ID because those values need to be unique. When should you use an ID versus a class? Use a class when you want a unique identifier that should only apply to one element? No. Use an ID when you need a unique identifier for a specific element, and use a class when you want to apply styles or behavior to multiple elements. Yes. What happens if you use the same ID more than once in your HTML? It can lead to unwanted results and issues when trying to apply styling or targeting an element in JavaScript. The program will crash, nothing will happen, there will be a pop-up alert message about it. This sounds more like it. Which of the following is not the correct value of the ID attribute? ID equals heading, ID equals main dash heading, ID equals main, ID equals space dot heading. This. Yeah. Because this is one, this uses the dash, this is nothing, but this uses the space, and they're looking for a not. So let's go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following along. I'll see you in the next video where we're going to be learning about HTML entities and what are some common examples. So see you next time.